This step is all about getting the modelling finished, and I think we'll start with getting a little antenna on the head of our little chap. That's going to be nice and straightforward. We're going to start with a cylinder, so I'll just create a new cylinder, and then let's move this up like so. I want to drop the subdivisions on the axis. We're going to knock that down to about 16. Should be nice. I still want this to look quite round. There it is. And now what we need to do is get this positioned. So in my top view, here we go, if I just put that into wireframe, I can see that I had that positioned about there, and it looks like I had it slightly wider as well. Only slightly. Okay, and then in this view here, it looks like I'm quite close actually. And we need to just get that positioned about there, I believe. And then you can see here that that's still above the mesh, so it's going to have to go down slightly more, like that, to make sure that it intersects. Then what we're going to do is we're going to name this antenna, and we'll make our changes. So the first thing we need to do is go into face mode, and we're going to select all the faces on the top, like so, and then we're going to extrude them, add a slight offset like that. That looks good. And then we'll extrude again, and we'll add a bit of thickness just to bring it up a bit. And then we'll extrude again. We'll add another offset. This is going to be slightly more because this is going to be the thickness of the antenna itself. And then we'll extrude again. This is going to give us the height. So we're going to need to look at this view this time. So let's raise the thickness to about there. That looks good. Make sure that we can see the top of this. We'll extrude again. And we're going to add thickness again, like that. And then we're going to select this face. I'm holding shift, double click on the next one to get the whole edge loop. We'll extrude and we'll add a bit of thickness to that, and that's just going to add that bit of detail to the top. Okay, that's the antenna done. Pretty darn good. That will do nicely. Next, what we need to do is attach the head to the torso. We're going to create a little neck for that. And that's actually just going to be two metallic looking cylinders. We're going to let the audience imagine how exactly the head is attached and how it moves around. We're going to keep it simple. So we'll start with another cylinder, and I'm going to put the subdivisions on the axis to 16 again. 16 is a nice number. Put my move tool on, and then we need to just sort of get this in place. So in this view now, what I want to do is just turn on the grid, because I want to know, I'm going to take this off center, but I don't want to take it too far off center. So let's just make this slightly taller. It needs to intersect the torso and the head. That'll do. And then we're going to move it off to the side, just slightly. And then I'm going to duplicate that. In fact, I'll name it first. We'll call it neck 1. That's it. That was a good catch. Duplicate it, move it over, and I just want this one to be slightly thinner for no real reason, just to add a bit of visual variety. So let's scale that up as well. So those are going to be our two neck pieces. That'll do nicely. Those are the last things that we need to model then. Now what we need to do is just the finishing touches to get this ready to be mirrored. And the first thing I want to do for that is to just reposition the arm. It's not quite in the socket as I would like it to be. So I'm going to select all pieces of the arm like that. And then we need to get this positioned. So if we have a look in this view here, we can see here's the socket. Let's just kill the grid again. Here's the socket, and this is just not sitting within the socket. So we'll just move that up a little bit. That looks pretty good. So that should now be sitting within the socket. And I think we can't really see it in this view now, but this view here shows that it needs to come forward a bit as well. So we'll bring it forward just so that it's sitting a bit more central within that socket. Yeah, that'll do it. So I'm now happy with the position of that. Next thing I want to change is I want a bit of overlap in these hand pieces so that there's not the gap between them. And then again, the audience, whoever's looking at it, will just assume that these are somehow joined. We'll let their imagination do the hard work so we don't have to. So I'm just joining these up, just get a bit of overlap. And that will be sweet. Beautiful. Okay, we've got that. And then finally, I just want to make sure that I'm happy with the naming of the arm, because we've got L_lower arm, and then for some reason L_lower arm 2, which I don't like. That's really uneven. So I'm going to add a 1 to this so the naming's a bit more consistent. Right, now that we've made those finishing touches, the next thing we need to do is to smooth our geometry, because at the moment it isn't smooth. If I show you what I mean, I'll select everything. We'll press 1. This is how our geometry actually looks, and if we were to import this into Unreal Engine now, even with the smooth preview on, this is how it would come through. So we need to make these changes. We'll start with the head then, and I think I'll just switch into my large perspective view for this. Okay, what we're going to do is go to Mesh and Smooth, and you can see that it smooths it, and it tells us that we've done this once. We've subdivided by 1. And it's still 2 square. So if we now just click and drag on that to 2, that is much more like the shape that we had in mind. But for this one, specifically, because I want the head to look smooth, I'm actually going to take it up to 3. This is the only piece I'm going to do this with. But I do want that. So there we go. That's the head done. Right, we'll do the torso next. So there's the torso selected. And instead of going into the menu, I'm just going to click on this icon here for smooth. Click on that. And this one's just going to get 2 divisions. There we go. Okay, this piece here just needs 1, as does this piece here, because these are already fairly smooth. So we'll just give them 1 each. And then everything else along the arm kind of needs 2. So we'll smooth it and then give it 2 divisions. This one here, we'll smooth it and give it 2 divisions. Yeah, that's pretty nice. This piece here, smooth it, 2 divisions, and then all the hand pieces need the same. So smooth, 2 divisions. Otherwise we don't get the shape that we want, especially like this overlap and the rounding out just won't come through on the hands. So we'll get all of these. Okay, that's the arm done. Let's do the, what do we call it, the hips. So we'll smooth that and we'll give it 2 divisions. This socket here, or the joint that goes into the socket, just needs 1. This is going to have 2. This is going to have 2. This is definitely going to have 2. And the foot will have 2 as well, just to keep it fairly simple. And then just this little bit here that allows that to move around, we're going to add 1 division to that. Okay, so now all the smoothing is done. I think I'm going to make one more change. I think the neck looks a little bit too much, so to remedy that, I'm just going to move the head down slightly, make him look a bit stumpier. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, what we need to do now then is get this left arm and this left leg to duplicate over onto the right hand side. There are multiple ways that we can do this, but I'm going to do it in the way that I prefer. So I'm going to select all pieces of the arm there. I'm also going to hold shift and select all the pieces of the leg. And these have all got different pivot points. I need them to have one pivot point that is exactly on the center of the grid. So to do that, I'm just going to group them like so. And you can see they're all selected now, but more importantly, if we go into this center view here, they all share a common pivot point, which is bang on the center of the grid. And this is another reason that when we've been modeling, we've only used the image as a rough guide, because we wanted to be able to mirror this later. So we've made sure that the model is on the center line and haven't worried too much about the image. That's just been there to guide us. So now that we've got that selected then, what we will do is go to Edit, Duplicate Special, and we'll click on the little settings box. I'll just move this over here so you can see the effect when we do this. We want to copy. We are going to group it under parent, and then yours will probably be set to this, so 1, 1, 1, and we want the scale on X to be -1, like so. And that's it. When you click on apply, it will duplicate everything over and you're all good. And what's also good about this is that now what we can do, let's just turn that grid off so it doesn't get too distracting, is just rename everything. So it's kept the exact name. So you can see this here is called L_shoulder. This here is also called L_shoulder, which actually until today I didn't think Maya would let you do. I think it's because they're grouped that it's allowing them to have the same name. And that helps us with renaming. So what we'll do is we'll select everything on this side, not the head though. So we've got all pieces of the arm. So I haven't selected the group now, I've selected the individual pieces. And then we'll do that with the leg. Yep. And we're just going to rename these all in one go. To do that, we're going to go into Modify. And then we'll click on, what will we click on? Search and replace names. So we'll click on that. And let me delete these so you can see what I'm putting it in. So we did name these really specifically. Everything starts with L_. It wasn't L space, it was L_. And that's because if we just replace the L, then it will replace all the L's. So we need something a bit more unique than that, which is going to be L_. So whenever it sees L_, it's going to replace it with R_, like that. And then we can just click on replace. And now if we click on any of these, we've got R_shoulder, R_upper arm, R_lower arm 1, let's do a leg piece, R_lower leg 2. So it's now all perfectly renamed as well. Isn't that grand? So we'll just do now a couple more finishing touches before we can wrap up this step. So the first thing I want to do is just get all those pieces we just put into groups out of their groups. So for that, we're going to go to Windows Outliner. You can see here are our groups. So we'll click on the name of the group and then we'll go to Edit, Ungroup. And they are now no longer grouped. And we'll do the same for group 2, Edit, Ungroup. And now everything is all back as separate pieces. And now what we're going to do is just delete the history and freeze the transformations, which is good practice on anything that you model really. So let's select all of the different pieces of mesh. We're going to do Modify Freeze Transformations. And then we'll just check that that worked on everything. Everything should be zeroed out or have 1 on the scale. Yep, that's all worked. And then we're going to do Edit, Delete All by Type, History. And we'll know that that's worked because underneath this section here now, there'll be nothing listed, which there isn't. So I'm just going to disappear the outliner. And that is the modelling done. We have completed chapter 1. In chapter 2, we'll be looking at getting some basic materials on this guy, as well as a bit of UV mapping on the head so that we can texture the eyes on there. So I look forward to seeing you for chapter 2. I'm able to continue making these videos thanks to the ongoing support of my amazing Patreon community. If you'd also like to support Game Dev Academy via Patreon, then check out the link in the description below. Thank you.